lessons. His wife is awesome. My wife really connected with her. Really, really good people. What a great opportunity. Just out of the blue, we ended up having a gospel meeting. It was so encouraging for everybody. If you remember before the gospel meeting, we had a lesson. Actually, it was part one of the lesson. We were talking about fasting, calling the fasting the specialty tool of spiritual growth. Today, we're going to continue that lesson. That is a two-part lesson. We're going to go a little bit into detail, but I was speaking 2 weeks ago when we were talking last time that fasting is the least practiced spiritual discipline in the church, and yet is the most powerful spiritual discipline that we read about in the Bible. And we started this lesson on the Sermon on the Mount. If you remember, Jesus is providing instruction on the Sermon on the Mount to not Christians, but to his people. At the time, they were not Christians, but to his followers, to his disciples. And he's teaching them how to pray. And verse 5 says, when you pray, you should not be like the hypocrites. And he goes into details what the hypocrites are doing when they're praying. And he's telling the disciples and us, really, how we are to pray. And then when we go down to verse 16, it says, moreover, when we fast. And again, it touches about how we should not fast like the hypocrites, but how we should really fast. So in Matthew chapter 6, here we see that Jesus expects us to fast in the same way that he expects us to pray. So that's a very important truth that we're trying to establish. Yes, Jesus expects us to fast just the same way that he expects us to pray. We know that Jesus expects us to pray, but fasting, it's a little bit different because people don't really think about that a whole lot, although Jesus certainly expects us to fast. So fasting has always been, if you look into the New Testament and the Old Testament too, has always been a normal part of a person's relationship with God. Every major biblical character fasted. You look in the Old Testament and every major character that was close to God, whether it's David or whether it's, you name it. You give me an example of a great man of God or woman of God in the Old Testament, and there's evidence to see that they were actually also fasting. So fasting brings one and has the ability to bring us into a deeper, more intimate, more powerful relationship with God. Because when you eliminate food from your diet, your spirit becomes more uncluttered and you become amazingly more sensitive to God. That's really what it is when you don't think about food, when your body is not so connected to this earth by the food. So last week, we already defined fasting, right? Very easy. Fasting is giving up food. Everybody understands you don't eat. That's what fasting is. And sometimes even drink for a period of time. And last week, the first lesson was about the two purposes for the fasting, which is benefits for the body. We went into details, and I'm not going to cover those or review them, and also benefits for the soul. So it has many benefits for the soul. And that's pretty much was my introduction, my review from last week, and my introduction for the second lesson today, which is going to be about talking about the different types of fasting and when should we fast. So try to make it a little practical today, to really break it down, and you can leave here and we can have some ideas about different type of fasting you may want to consider, and also when you might want to fast. And I will start by saying that certainly when it comes to food, it's been said that a man to a man's heart is through his stomach. You've heard that before? It's true. It's true. If you're a woman, if you really know, if you're married, for instance, it's through his stomach. And most women have come to know it, but we need to realize that the devil also knows it. Think about it. The devil also knows that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. It started actually all the way back in the Garden of Eden. Remember when Eve chose to listen to Adam and Eve too. They chose to listen to what? To their stomach as opposed to listen to God. God says don't do that. And they listen to their stomach. I have here a picture of a city, old city in the desert somewhere. Pretend it is the city of Sodom and Gomorrah, okay? So when God is speaking of the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah, usually people think it's all about their homosexuality. That's all that was about. But the Bible teaches there's more to it than that. Let's read actually what was more about the city of Sodom and Gomorrah that God was so upset about. We read in Ezekiel chapter 16. You guys know everybody knows, right? About the city of Sodom and Gomorrah that was destroyed by God. But verse 49 says, behold, this was the guilt of your sister Sodom. Sister Sodom, like the city of Sodom. She and her daughters had pride. So pride was a big thing for why that city was brought down and destroyed. For her daughters had pride. And the next thing says excess of food. Excess of food like in gluttony. And prosperous ease. But did not aid the poor and the needy. You say, wait a minute. I thought Sodom and Gomorrah was all about homosexuality. No, that's not the only thing. Actually had to do with greed, had to do with pride, had to do with excess food. They loved to eat and they had plenty of it. And they liked to take it easy and they had a very prosperous ease, what it says there. And in verse 50, we read that they were haughty and did an abomination before me. So I removed them when I saw it, God says. So excess of food, that is being guilty of gluttony, along with other sins. Their excessive loyalty to what I call king's stomach is what carry them straight into damnation. Yes, city and Sodom and Gomorrah. And it's not just city and Sodom and Gomorrah that struggle with gluttony and with food. They like food a little too much. Who else liked food a little too much? That picture is supposed to be a picture of Esau. Remember the son of Isaac and Rebekah? Gave up his birthright. Why? I'm going to die. Give me that bowl that's supposed to be a lentil soup bowl. It's like, was supposed to give up, he gave his birthright for a lentil soup. And the writer of Hebrews used some strong terms that warns against us becoming a glutton like Esau. In Hebrews chapter 12, we read, looking carefully, and this is talking about us, to us actually, it's a warning to us. Looking carefully lest anyone fall short of the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness spring up, causing trouble, and by this many become defiled. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person like Esau, who for one morsel of food sold his birthright. For you know that afterwards, when he wanted to inherit the blessings, he was rejected, for he found no place for repentance, though he sought it diligently with tears. So we see here, and these are just a couple of examples, but liking food too much, it could be a real big problem before God. There's many other examples. Remember in the Old Testament when people of God wanted meat, and God gave them meat, and they became such gluttons that God struck them, and many, many died, and the sin there was gluttony. So there's something to consider as we go through this life, to learn not to get too attached to food. We don't talk a lot about gluttony, but I'll tell you, we live in a country that food is cheap, food is available, and you can say, well, food is not cheap. Have you gone to the grocery store? Yes, I know. They are not, but you don't know about how things are in the other parts of the world. You don't. And I'll tell you myself, like How close to home is that? Myself, growing up, when I was a kid, maybe like James and Adrina, we did not have enough food. We did not have enough food. I routinely remember often that our whole family of 7, it was me, my brother and sister, my father and mother, and 2 grandparents, we ran out of food as we were eating routinely. And actually, it was common, very common, for there not to be enough food, and my father and my mother end up not eating. And at the time, he's like, oh, I ate, but the rest of what my father would do is like, okay, you eat first. And that's the right thing to do. My mother would not touch the food until kids eat first. And we were kids, oh, I'm full. But it was later in life that I realized that my parents went to bed hungry, and often us kids too, because there was not enough food. So for us, it's easy. We live in a society, the richest nation on earth. You can get food stamps, you can get free food, you can go to a pantry, you can go to Salvation Army, and what other place? Well, in the desert. There's so many places that you can go to, and you can get food. People in this country don't know what going our food is about, but we need to develop that mindset when it comes to food to not be so dependent on it. So moving, and it's not necessarily good that food is so readily available, and I think United States is the country that suffers with obesity the most. It's true, because you have too much, and people just eat, and they get addicted to it, just as it becomes a drug. But let us distance ourselves from that a little bit and talk about the next point of this lesson, which is about the 3 types of fast found in the scriptures. 3 types of fast. And the first one is the absolute fast. The absolute fast. This is an absolute fast, is extreme, and it should only be done on a very short period of time. On an absolute fast, you take nothing, not even water. You just, for a number of days, you eat no food and 0 water. This is what's called an absolute fast. And depending on your health, this fast should be attempted only with medical supervision, because it could be dangerous if you don't drink water for a long time. You can get dehydrated. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. We do see this type of fast in the Bible, however. It's called the absolute fast. The second fast is called the normal fast. The normal fast. Normal people like you and I can be involved in this type of fast. On a normal fast, you typically go without food, just without food, of any kind, really, for one day, for a number of days. This is the kind of fast that a couple of weeks ago, many people of this congregation actually had this fast. How did it feel, by the way? You don't have to answer. I know some of you are really hungry, but it was definitely something different, right? That's going on in your mind and in your heart. Would you say that something definitely shook you a little bit? And you only didn't eat for like less than a day, So on this fast, you do drink water, and plenty of it. And this is the type of fast, again, that it's not difficult to do, to just say I'm not going to eat. And depending on the length of the normal fast, you may choose to take maybe some clear broths or juices. You can, if it's a longer than a day, you may drink like juices or something that is not just water to help. Some people do that. It's still considered a normal fast. So that is the normal fast, and we're going to talk more about it, but it's not really impossible if you get used to it. It's very practical, really, and it provides tremendous benefits. The last one is the partial fast. Partial fast. A partial fast usually involves giving up particular food and drinks for an extended period of time. Most commonly used in the Bible is in the book of Daniel. That's why it's called a Daniel fast. We read in Daniel chapter 10, verse 3, that for 3 weeks Daniel ate no pleasant food. This is the fasting that you don't eat pleasant food. Have you ever tried to go on a day without eating pleasant foods? Pleasant foods means sweets and the likes. I know. It's like, really? Kill me now. Yep. No soft drinks, no candy bars, no cookies, no cakes, no sugar-coated cereal, no hot dogs, no burgers, no steaks, beef tacos, no barbecue ribs. How long can you last? Can you last a day? I couldn't, I know. Honest person, it's hard, I know. So it's very hard. If you are intentional about it, it's very hard. Go on tomorrow. Say, I'm not going to have any of this stuff. I'm only going to have... Remove all of this junk. All of this kind of is junk food. I mean, maybe barbecue ribs is not junk food, right? And maybe burger some of you likes, but there's a lot of junk there. Like anything with sugar, cake, soft drinks. Try not to do that for a full day. Some of you maybe are okay. It's really hard. A second? Yes, there you go. He's an honest person. So that's really what's called a partial fast. That's a partial fast, to where you commit, like Daniel, for a period of time not to eat pleasant foods, right? So all these things, don't need them. And you can start maybe with a day. I think it's easier to do a fast like this just for a day. If you cannot do no food at all for a whole day, try to do one no junk food, no candy, no pleasant food for a day. That's still a type of fast. But try to do that for 2 days, 3 days, 21 days like Daniel. I've never done a 21-day Daniel fast, but I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to get my wife involved so we can do it together. It's easier when you do it together with somebody else. I'm not going to say everybody in the church we're doing it, because it's a little bit... it's a little hard. You're going to end up tossing stones at me or stoning me after a week of not having anything sweet. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit. I think some of you will do just fine. But a Daniel feast is eliminating meat, bread, sweets for 21 days. And is really a fast that anybody could handle if you really put your mind to it. It won't be easy. But if it's a sacrifice to you, it will mean a lot to God. And it will draw you so much closer to God. There's no doubt about it. When it comes to the duration of the fast can vary. But there are significant numbers we find in the Bible, which includes 3 days. We see some in the Bible, some people fasted for 3 days. And they had no food or water. And sometimes maybe just no food for 3 days. Or 7 days, or 21 days. And also we know that there's people in the Bible that fasted for 40 days. The length of time, you can choose it. It's up to you. Depends on your circumstances. But I would say, if you haven't done it before, begin with 1 day from sunrise to sunset. I think most people, when we had that fast, this is what we actually did. We got up in the morning, we didn't eat, and then we came to Bible study, we had a Bible study, and then we ate afterwards, and boy, that food tasted good. But you can just have a fast to where you don't eat from sunrise to sunset. That is a type of fasting. And truly, you'll be amazed the difference of even a 1 day, even a partial day, or a normal fast will make in your life. If you've never done it before, I absolutely recommend it. That you consider it, and especially knowing that Jesus expects it. I mean, if you've been a Christian for a number of years, some of you have, it's like, wait, you never fasted? Like, how can you never fasted? I mean, Jesus says, when you fast. Didn't you read that? So I want to encourage you and challenge you to use this secret weapon, this secret, it's not a secret, but it's like very specialized tool that you can use at your disposal that will get you through life. So yes, because fasting will make you so much more sensitive to God. Sometimes you pray to God and say, God, answer my prayer. God, where are you? I can't hear you. Maybe if you fast, you'll hear God more. Sometimes you hear God, but sometimes you don't. And I'll tell you, when you fast and pray, you will hear God's voice a lot clearer in your head than if you just pray. Okay, we understand the different types of fast. What about now, when should we fast? When should we fast? And there are 4 occasions when we should fast. Again, I'm trying to make this lesson very practical, and I hope this morning you're going to leave here with some ideas as to when you can incorporate fasting in your routine life. Add it to your life. Just like I know some of you don't exercise routinely, and I'm telling you, go ahead, going forward, exercise. Some of you won't. I'm not that motivated to do that. And some of you don't exercise. It's fine, you're in good company. But I'm trying to tell you to really dare to adopt this new habit called fasting. Okay, when should we fast? When should you fast? 4 occasions. There's others, but for the sake of time, I only have 4. One is when you approach danger. When you approach danger, problems that are looming, severe sickness coming up for you or for someone in the family, a job loss that is pending. Have you ever been in a job that you hear it through the grapevine that there will be layoffs? I wonder if I'm going to be part of it. Been there a few times. It's not fun at all. Being laid off many times. That's certainly an opportunity to pray, to fast. Danger approaching. Also, danger can be approaching by the affliction of others. Somebody else is going through something tough. For someone else's difficulty, you can improve your prayer life and you can fast. Do you have people in your life that are going through difficulties in their life? You can fast for that. The church fasted before sending men into spiritual work and opposition. Acts chapter 13, we see in the Bible, the whole church fasted. So when we engage the whole church into a fasting, just know that that's very biblical. It's absolutely okay for us to say, okay, let's fast. Of course, it's still volunteer. If you choose not to fast, that is you can do whatever you want. But we see it in the Bible as the whole church in the New Testament, they fasted. And also, if you know you're going to be in danger, if you know something is going to happen and you're going to be in danger, fast first before you go to the danger. Before you get to the danger. So, what danger do you already see coming in your life? Do you see any danger coming in your life as you look in your future right now? Or you're totally oblivious and you think everything is going to be ponies and rainbows in your future? If you're real, if you really are serious, all of us, we need to see the danger when it comes. And in everybody's life, every so many years, there's true dangers that will affect you, that could shake you to the core. And it may not necessarily be something drastic. It could be something, a temptation. It could be a stress. It can be pride. It can be fear. And maybe the greatest mistake is not that danger is coming, but that we are spiritually unprepared when danger comes. To not be prepared when danger comes. I've given this quote to you before. It's from a book by Sun Tzu, from The Art of War. Great book, you should read it if you haven't. He said that every battle is won before it's ever fought. Yes, you can win a battle before you even fight it. And you do it in the context here by praying, by fasting. If you know that a difficult season is coming, a major decision is approaching, a conflict is brewing, then fast. Fast first, pray first, seek God first, humble yourself first. And spiritual, mature people understand that if you know danger is coming, you need spiritual strength before you arrive at danger. You need to pray first before you get there. If you remember Esther in the Old Testament, she fasted before entering danger. In Esther chapter 4, we're going to read this in just a minute, but what was at stake there is that the Jewish people were facing extermination. because of Haman's wicked decree. We're not going to get into that detail. Feel free to read the story in Esther. Fascinating story. If you're not familiar with it, you should read it for sure. But Esther was queen at the time and had to go before the king. And you don't just walk before the king. You could be killed, right? You don't, unless the king calls you. Yes, you are the wife, but he need to call you first before you come into his presence. But in the book of Esther, chapter 4, verse 16, Esther there speaks to Mordecai actually and to the people, and it says, "Go, gather all the Jews who are present in Shushan and fast for me. Neither eat nor drink for 3 days, day or night." Okay, there you go. This is one type of fast to where you don't eat and you don't drink for 3 days. You can call this the Esther fast. 3 days, 3 nights, no food, no water. And then she said, "My maids and I will fast likewise. And so I will go to the king, which is against the law. And if I perish, I perish." See, she was about to do something that's very dangerous. And she says, "What am I going to do before? I am going to fast." So Esther was about to walk into a dangerous moment that she could not handle with beauty. Wait, she was beautiful. Isn't that alone enough? Well, no. With position, with human wisdom, she needed God. She needed God. She did not say, "Hey, I'll just trust my instincts or rely on my charms." She didn't try to wing it and see what happens. Before she approached the king, before she stepped into danger, she fasted. So we need to understand that in life, sometimes courage is not enough. Natural strength is not enough. Sometimes the greatest preparation is spiritual preparation when you are about to face uncertainty and danger. So Ezra also fasted before a dangerous journey. Just touched a few here. In Ezra chapter 8, he was going to take a trip with many people. It was not a casual trip. Was preparing to travel hundreds of miles to Jerusalem, carrying silver and gold and their children and all their livelihoods, but wives with them. But in Ezra chapter 8, it says there, "Then Ezra, I proclaim a fast there at the river of Ahava, that we might humble ourselves before God to seek from Him the right way for us and our little ones and all our possessions." So we fasted and entreated our God for this, and He answered our prayers. So people of God here, they will travel through dangerous territory filled with robbers and perils. And what did they do? Before they got on the journey, they not just prayed to God, they fasted. The danger had not yet arrived, but Ezra prepared spiritually before the journey started. One more I have. Jesus fasted before facing Satan. One of the most important spiritual battles actually in Scripture began with fasting. Did you know that? One of the most important spiritual battles in the Bible is when the devil tested Jesus. Why was that important? Well, what if he would have failed? Not that Jesus is such a thing, that Jesus failing, but it was a testing. That's what's called. It was a testing. And Jesus fasted for how long, Jim? 40 days. 40 days. So before the temptation, before the confrontation, before Satan attacked, Jesus saw it coming, and Jesus was prepared by prayer and by fasting. And I'll tell you, brothers and sisters, I'm convinced of this. One of the reasons our life sometimes is difficult is because we are not pausing to prepare by praying, by fasting when we see danger approaching. You see danger approaching and you take it for granted and you just, no big deal. And then when you're there, like, oh, this is terrible. Yeah, you weren't prepared. It's like you are preparing for a fight, for instance, right? And you don't do anything about it. Some of you, I didn't watch. I know it was some of you maybe watched yesterday. It was a very big event with UFC. Some of you watched it. You didn't. But I've heard that actually, you know Ronda Rousey? Come on, guys. You know her. So she was a big fighter before, and she prepared very fast, serious for this fight here. And she won 17 seconds, first round submission, armbar, if you watched it. But that person didn't just casually walk in, I'm going to have a fight today. They prepared. They prepared hours and hours and gruesome preparation. You don't go have a tournament to win a battle of any kind and you're not prepared. Yet, as Christians, we are facing daily battles, spiritual battles every day. Yet, we just go take every day like it's no big deal. We have to be prepared because we are facing Satan every single day. In Matthew chapter 4, we read, then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. And when he had fasted for 40 days and 40 nights, now he was prepared, right? And you know what happened? The devil could not get to him. So preparation came before confrontation. And this is a major spiritual principle that we would be wise as mature Christians to implement. Prepare before confrontation, before it's needed. Make sure you have prayer on board. You make sure you have fasting on board. And I'll tell you, brothers and sisters, there's nobody in a room that is stronger than a person that's prayed up and fasted. Nobody. Nobody can, because you bring the whole counsel of God with you and the preparation. And it's very hard to fail when you have prayer and fasting on board. Very good. So that was the first occasion when we should fast. The second occasion when we should fast is when we need to humble ourselves before God. When we need to get back to God, or when we really mess up, we want to get God's attention. Fast. Number 3 is when we need a very special power. When you need God really, really in a very difficult moment. There's a mountain in front of you that you feel like you need to lift, to raise, to remove. Fasting matters and is very powerful, can achieve that. Some very dangerous situation in a person's life, one of a very challenging situation, praying is great, but fasting is also very, very powerful. I will just share with you, just for 15 seconds, something that happened to me. I've heard something. I've been in touch with someone in a different church that I worshiped many years ago. Been a Christian there for over many, many years, but married for about 3 decades. Wonderful couple. They have 3 children about the same age, me and Lisa. And I keep in touch with him, not so much with her. And I say, how are things going? And he just mentioned to me that his wife committed adultery after 30 years of being married. And now their marriage is dissolved. Can you imagine? So is that a moment to pray about it and to fast about it? These are some of the strongest people in the church. Her father was a gospel preacher. Can you imagine? Her father rolling in the grave. But there's a moment like that, and that could devastate not just for that family, for the whole church can be devastating. And prayer can be used in that kind of situation. And these things can happen. And if it happens, it can happen to anybody. So that's why I'm just using that as an opportunity to let all of us know to not take Satan for granted, because if it can get to anybody. And it can destroy families just like that if you are not prepared and if you're not acknowledging danger. Okay, 3. And then number 4, fourth occasion we should fast is when we feel a pull, an urge to get alone with God. And this should be often. You see, would you say that considering prayer and fasting works in all the situations, do you agree that you should maybe incorporate fasting in your life? Yeah, I think we should. I have 1 more minute remaining and 7 practical tips for fasting, and then the lesson is over. I'm going to do 7 points in 45 seconds. 7 tips, real quick. Tip number 1, when you are fasting, don't watch TV because you are just going to be flooded with stuff, and oftentimes is food. I found the pizza, that's Tracy's favorite pizza with the brisket. You don't want to just, I'm fasting, and then you watch TV and you fill your mind with the worldly stuff, and then food commercials come about. Don't do that. Don't watch TV. Okay, make that be part of your fast. You remove the TV when you fast. Connect with God. Don't let anything goes inside your mind other than the Word of God and prayer and what else the day is bringing to you. But keep the TV off, okay? Number 2, second tip. Fasting will cause the roots of your relationship with Jesus to go deeper. So when you fast, you may not see angels and hear violins. You may not hear that. Sometimes you may even feel weak physically. But fasting takes your relationship with God at a whole new level. Just know that. Tip number 3. When you fast, don't look like a starving child in Africa. You're not going to die. It's okay. And actually, we know this from Jesus. Jesus says, when you fast, don't go around looking miserable like the hypocrites. They make sour faces so that people will know they're fasting. Oh, they are very spiritually minded. Don't do that. Don't do that. Tip number 4, don't bite more than you can chew. What does that mean? You've never fasted before, and now you're going to get on a 40-day fast. It's like you never run before, and then you're going to run a marathon. It's probably not going to work. Take it easy. Tip number 5, drink plenty of water. I would say at least a gallon a day. Humans can only live for about 3 to 5 days without water. And if you're really great shape physically, maybe another day or 2, but you need water. Don't try to do a 40-day fast with no water, okay? You're not going to make it. You say, where is so-and-so? Oh, here we're taking a long fast. Go, let's check on them. Yeah, just know what you do, okay? Number 6, lay aside any pleasurable activity and interest and intensely pursue God. Pray to God throughout the day. Don't just stay home and do a Netflix binge. That's not the time. Remember, no TV. Pray to God throughout the day because fasting actually will help sharpen your prayers. Read the Bible more than on a typical day. Fasting is a constant means of renewing yourself spiritually, for sure. And tip number 7, fasting is something between you and God. Don't go put it on Facebook and advertise it. One exception, you can tell your wife, okay? Can you imagine fasting through the day and then you come home and wife fixed up this nice meal and it's like, I am not going to eat. It's like, what? Not a good idea. Tell your wife or your husband. Yes. Okay, conclusion. Fasting is a tremendous tool. Please use it. Let us use it because it's a source of power in the life of a believer like nothing else. Stronger than prayer. Obviously, fasting is supposed to be done with prayer. It just takes your prayer at a whole new level when you fast and pray. So begin to fast 1 day, few days, giving up some food, all food. I really encourage you to develop this discipline in your private life. And just remember that God's plan for you are always progressing and developing. God did not make you so you can stay where you are and coast for the rest of your life. We are to grow. And there's nothing that will make you grow faster than if you read the Bible, if you pray, and if you fast. Think about it. Okay, that is the lesson for today. I appreciate time went fast. I have, in conclusion, please pick up your songbook. Or you're going to sing it from here, but number 812. Number 812. Let's read this, open this songbook. I'm not going to lead it. $812. My son pointed to me that, Dad, you're talking about fasting and then you talk about the great feast. Well, this is not talking about the feast here on earth. This is talking about the feast we're going to have when we get to heaven. Because there will be a feast in heaven that will be the mother of all feasts, that will be rewarded with when we get to heaven. And speaking of that, obviously, if you're here today and you're not sure about your salvation, or if you're going to make it to that feast, I strongly encourage you to consider it. I'm going to share with you one slide, something that I saw on a billboard, actually, and I want to share with you because there's so much lie in this world. Going through the gospel meeting with Craig, remember Craig said that nowadays Satan is not just going to take and necessarily persecute you, put you in chains, because that doesn't accomplish much. What he does, he tries to deceive you with all kinds of lies. He gets you to believe or get you to believe lies and things that are not true. I found this billboard that I'm going to leave it with you. It's actually from a passage. I think it's pretty clever, but it's from Mark chapter 16:16. Of course, you know, Jesus says, "He that believed and is baptized shall be saved." But this billboard says, "He that is believed and is saved," because some believe that all you got to do is believe and you're saved, and baptism comes later. And the question is asking is, who changed it? It's not supposed to be like that. Yes, so many people believe that you can just believe and you're saved, and then you can be baptized later. They switched it, and it's the devil that did the switching. And I'm encouraging you, if you are believing, to be baptized for the forgiveness of sins, because that's what washes away your sins in Christ Jesus. And then when you do that, live your life of obedience, and when the end comes, you will be partaking of those things that God has prepared and made ready for you. If you accept the invitation,